Hello, I'm Dr. Priya Hassan, and I'm back with you with Chekomukri Astrobits. And this month again, I want to talk all about the National Space Day because some very important announcements were made this time on Space Day. So let's just see what are India's space plans as declared on National Space Day. So, India's Space Vision 2047, if you realize that's about 100 years exactly from our day of independence, and that is why there are big plans that India has for 2047. Now, in India, already satellite technology has picked up totally. It is applicable in mobiles, safe, accurate navigation, communications, weather forecasting, fisheries, disaster management, etc. And therefore, there's been a lot of contribution from the space sector into our individual lives. Now, if you remember, last year on August 23rd, the Vikram lander, from Chandrayaan-3, it actually accomplished its first soft landing on the moon. This was the first one done by humans in the lunar south polar region. And therefore, it was declared as the National Space Day, which would be celebrated every year. And after the landing, so it made India the fourth nation to be landing on the moon, following Soviet Union, the United States, and China. Now, Chandrayaan-3 not only had a lander, it already also had a rover. So the lander was Vikram and the rover was Pragyan. So once Vikram landed, the Pragyan rover actually moved around almost a 101-meter distance, and so making India the third nation after China and Soviet Union to operate a robotic rover on the moon. And the mission lasted for exactly 14 days. 14 days because a lunar day is 14 days, right? After that, there'd be no sunlight falling over there, and therefore you would not have sunlight to charge up the rover. So all the payloads which were there, the lander, rover, and the propulsion module were operated, and they collected data. And this year on the National Space Day, the ISRO Space Science Data Center, which is ISDC, they have officially now released all the Chandrayaan-3 data for the community, for anybody. It is for general public. So all you need to do is you need to log into the ISSDC and actually access all the Chandrayaan data sets which are available on Pradhan. Okay. So obviously the moon landing was a very interesting and very important event, and therefore there are future plans to the moon. There's the Chandrayaan-4 which is being planned in 2027. In this case, you will have a lunar, not just orbiter lander rover, but also a lunar sample return mission. Okay, so you can see the way as ISRO is moving, right? We are moving step by step towards our goals. So in this case, you have 4 modules, which is adding on to the transfer module, lander module, ascender module, and the re-entry module. And this mission will be 14 days, 1 lunar day. Again, for the same reason I told you, the landing site is near Shiv Shakti. Shiv Shakti is the point where Chandrayaan-3 landed, so it's somewhere close to that. And what is planned is, like I said, that you actually send back samples from the moon. And after that, obviously, there is a plan of 2 more missions, Chandrayaan-5 and 6, which will continue progress on the moon. Now, in an earlier thing, I already spoke to you about the Artemis mission, which is being conducted by NASA, and they have already signed the Artemis Accords, which are an understanding between groups of countries about what is to be done with lunar exploration. So India is also part of the Artemis Accords, and all these are being done with that. The other important thing which we have on is Gaganyaan. I haven't had an earlier session on that, but Gagan is celestial, Yan is the vehicle, and you basically have an Indian crewed orbital spacecraft which is going where there's a plan of 2 to 3. So there are actually 4 selected candidates. I've spoken about them earlier. And what is actually planned is to put them in an autonomous 5.3 meter ton capsule, which will orbit the Earth at 400 kilometers for up to 7 days. This will be launched by the HLVM-3 rocket. It's supposed to be launched in 2021, but now hopefully it will be launched next year. And then this is the other interesting follow-up mission, is that by then the Chandrayaan-4, 5, etc. would have moved on, and therefore now India is planning to actually send an astronaut to the moon by 2040. Now, for all these things, ISRO has to also work on its launch vehicles, because now the ones that we have are not for such large capacity. These are the basic ones which are being used: PSLV, GSLV, LVM-3, and SSLV. And now what you basically need is you need this thing which will actually send a much larger weight, right, out in space. And therefore, what we are actually having is the NGLV, which is being called Surya, the next generation launch vehicle, which we've also called Surya. And what this is basically doing is it'll actually, it's hopefully should be completed by 2030. And the plan is that it would actually be able to launch 10 tons to a geostationary orbit. A geostationary orbit is at a height of about 36,000 kilometers above the surface, or 30 tons up to low Earth orbits. Low Earth orbits are something like 500 kilometers. So this NGLV or Surya, three-stage partially, and this is also a reusable rocket, and this is in development. And this is a very important factor which will be needed for for future launches which we were talking about, Man on the Moon. And another very important thing which was mentioned in the Space Day was about, you all heard about the International Space Station, right? Now in 2030, the International Space Station is expected to retire. And around that time, we are planning to launch our own space station, which will be called the Bharatiya Antariksh Station. And this will be quite something like the ISS, but it would actually have astronauts would stay there for 15-20 days. So there'll be a constant exchange of astronauts over there, exactly like it is on the ISS. And it's expected that the first module will be launched in 2028. And then, like, you can look at this is like the ISS, you'll have, different modules are launched and then they are attached together. So you kind of build it up. You start off with the initial module and then you will add on the other modules which will add on to this. And this is the other thing. So I'll end with this, but this is a lot of excitement about our space plans. And that's why I added one more on our space plans. And let's look forward to it. Thank you.